You know, props to Kevin Feige when he said years ago that the MCU movies were going to explore different genre beats and tones. I really never thought one of them would be a riff on the 1991 Richard Grieco teen spy comedy If Looks Could Kill, which is a thing you now know exists. You're welcome. Oh boy, can you imagine being part of the movie that has to follow Endgame? Yikes! Now, obviously, Spider-Man Far From Home can't drop anywhere near the kind of spectacle that, Return of the King for superheroes did, so it's with a sweet sigh of relief that it never tries. It goes back instead to that very distinct repertoire of teen angst with a really darkly tinged sense of humor that made the first one genuinely stand out. Instead, it doesn't terrifically expand on the world of Peter Parker. In fact, it literally takes him half the world away from it, but it's a bright, colorful, good time superhero romp with a really lovable cast. So Far From Home kicks off 8 months on from the events of Endgame, and the entire Marvel universe seems to have fallen relatively well back into place given the whole 5-year jump that half the population have experienced. The result of that is a whole new raft of comedies such as returning students having to repeat their school year and former school children now being full-blown teen love rivals, elements like that. They treat it with a decent bit of humor, but it never feels silly enough. And it's in this mindset then that Peter, who's still played with just bags of charm by Tom Holland, he and his friends kick off their school trip to Europe, where Peter plans to finally make good on his lusting after Zendaya's MJ. And yeah, they've ditched that weird Michelle red herring thing. She's just MJ now. Nick Fury, however, he has plans of his own for Peter, and he hijacks the trip to enlist Spider-Man's help in stopping these 4 elemental-based kaiju from another dimension in the multiverse. And oh yeah, the multiverse exists. So apparently the snap ripped it open, and now Earth 616, which is our Earth, is exposed to all kinds of threats from all across reality, and these are threats that Fury wants Spidey to face alongside a hero from one of those parallel Earths, a man who quickly comes to be known as Mysterio, and might just be the surrogate father figure that a newly bereaved Peter could probably use after, Endgame. So with John Watts back directing, and it really having only been like 5 minutes since the first one of these, Far From Home doesn't really skip a beat in any sense. It's got that same kind of exuberant energy that Homecoming had, the same tone, feel, the way the comedic beats are all equal parts, performance and direction and editing. It's a pretty solid part too. It's a little lightweight for a Spider-Man sequel, but I gotta admit, I kind of need that. Raimi's Spider-Man 2, but that's amazing, but it's a heavy movie in this genre. And Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a heavy movie. It's amazing anyone sat through entirely. Actually having a fun, breezy Spider-Man sequel and fun, breezy Spider-Man flicks is something I'm not entirely used to, which is odd considering that's kind of Spider-Man's deal. Don't be thinking that means any of Far From Home is without consequence though. Just because it's fun and flighty as all hell definitely doesn't mean it's not a loud and proud MCU flick. There's real mythology being unveiled in this, and reveals that will go on to affect multiple movies, and occurrences I honestly never thought I'd see them doing in any of the movies. Really great stuff, and at least 5 entire moments that'll make you think back on and want to revisit Euro Trip. So the whole returning cast are great fun. Jacob Batalon gets a whole new avenue of fun to have, like Ned and Aunt May still a delight, and Favreau's now playing this sort of cuddly uncle figure, and Zendaya's really good in this role that they've now kind of crowbarred the awkward, non-specific grunge archetype from the last movie into someone with a bit more of a defined and focused kind of sensibility. Holland's a star though. I love this kid. He's a great Peter Parker. He's a very fun lead, rock on, and I suppose Sam Jackson and Aunt Robin are kind of returning players too. They're both perfectly enjoyable. They kind of do what they always do, sort of a deal. The big newcomer, obviously, is Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, and Gyllenhaal even being in a Spider-Man movie itself is just mind-blowing given his sort of understudy legacy, but he's genuinely terrific for at least the first half of this. I thought he went a little generic the more the plot required him to take it there, but his relationship with Peter and the way their dynamic gets explored, it gives Gyllenhaal the chance to show off some real charm and almost old-school Hollywood likability, and to be fair, that's absolutely in keeping with the character if you stop and think about it. But yeah, Gyllenhaal was a great call for Mysterio. Nicely played. to be all out basic on it, Far From Home really is the summer vacation of summer movies so far this year. So throw on something with palm trees on it, order the Tango Ice Blast, kick back, relax, and just enjoy a breezy blockbuster couple of hours. There's some amazing set pieces, big action spectacle. Michael Giacchino's score kicks asses just like he did last time. It's a 3-star romp in my books, a great epilogue to the Infinity Saga, as we're apparently calling it now. And while both are really good, this might feature the single most WTF post-cred sequence of any of these to date. And now here are some words I eventually regret saying last time. I really can't wait for Spider-Man 3. Also out this week is Escape Plan, The Extractors, which, despite the title, has little to nothing to do with fans or air conditioners and is in fact the third installment of the series that began with a perfectly fine, disposable Arnie Sly crossover movie like 6 entire years ago now. But since Sly's fallen out with the folks behind the Expendables flicks, he's been talking this one up as his Golden Years series, and I can absolutely see why, because being in them requires him to do next to all. See, the pattern they've stumbled onto with this series is that Stallone need only actually feature in a handful of scenes, so long as you space those scenes around excerpts of 60 to 70 minutes of a random Chinese actioner. They pull the same trick with Dave Bautista and 50 Cent too. Not one of those dudes seem to have filmed more than a couple of days on this, and seriously, you know what the plot of this movie is? Those guys are on a revenge mission. I'm making none of this up. So Escape Plan 3 has Devon Sawa starring as the son of Vincent D'Onofrio's character from the first movie. Remember? The one who got revealed at the end as the actual villain? So don't feel bad, no one remembers. That's why they actually insert a good 10 minutes of clips into the edit on this. So while now Junior's out for blood, somehow the kidnapping of a tech mogul's daughter comes up, and Jamie King, Sly's girlfriend, and she gets kidnapped, and our part-time hero is forced to break into a prison for some reason to save the date. Basically the night boat of movie concepts. There's a couple of good moments in the fight choreography, and there's flares of slick direction from John Hirschfeld, whom otherwise I honestly would have thought was so far above this kind of movie, but he seems pretty content to mostly slum it here. It's a pretty ropey affair. It's one of those that reuses cutaway shots continuously. It boasts a script written less to the grade of traditional VOD than that of a porn parody, and, well, can really be summed up best as a film of jaunty hats and hefty contouring with Devon Sawa. So send me a half-decent Stallone action and I'll happily give it the time, but this ain't one of them, and there's so little creative worth or effort involved. It just can't escape becoming more of the same kind of lifeless Chinese pandering bills that the last one was. 1 star, I personally would like to escape this franchise now. Speaking of franchises you can't escape, Shaft's back this week too. Actually, this one came out a couple of days ago on Netflix in the UK, but I'll be goddamned if they're releasing a Shaft movie and I don't get to review it, you dig? Plus, he's in Spider-Man, and that is as tenuous an arc as I can actually manage. So it's directed by Tim Story, who's the only black filmmaker, incidentally, to have completely directed 3 franchises this century, and it's co-written by Kenya Barris, the creator of Blackish. The latest chapter in the Shaft story is entitled Shaft, and involves the neglected son of Shaft, who's become like an FBI analyst, and he's forced to ask his estranged father for help in solving a friend's murder. His father, of course, being Samuel L. Jackson Shaft from, well, John Singleton's reboot quote, which was back in like 2000, 2001. The one who was like the nephew of the original Shaft, played by Richard Roundtree, but not really, because that was a ruse, and now he's actually Jackson's father, but he lied to him because reasons, and there's only 6 years age difference between the 2 actors anyway, so shut up, you've thought about this too much. And anyway, it's easily the most broadly comedic one of the Shaft movies to date. So Shaft 2019 goes hard on the mismatched buddy cop father-son, you know, that kind of dynamic between Samuel L. Jackson and Jesse Usher. So the old school kind of soul brother and the millennial with Apple Pay. It's kind of at times a lot of that movie that Samuel L. Jackson did with Eugene Levy, The Man, or even like at times a bit like the opening reel of The Other Guys. It's Samuel L. Jackson in full OTT Hitman's bodyguard mode, and well, it works about as well as that movie did. So Shaft's insanely self-indulgent, and it'll probably be quite hit and miss to someone who's like a complete newcomer to the brand, but it is nice to actually see this series finally accept that it works best when it's leaning into its own kind of camp silliness. The last action hero style movie logic versus reality thing, kind of always funny, and there's some great gags in there, some good lines and cameos. It's not for everyone, but I enjoyed it. It's a 2-star movie though, and I really wouldn't bank on seeing another sequel, but hey, I dug it. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, rate, and review.